Hi, this is Bethany Experience, founder of Numinous, the organization that sponsors the Global Peaceful Cities Project. And today it is this amazing opportunity for me to be sitting here with two people that I would consider my teachers, Bob and Evie von Bonville. And the reason why they're my teachers is because they have taken the Intentional Coherence Athlete class that we will be starting again in February. And in this Intentional Coherence Athlete class, what we do is basically every 2 weeks I introduce a new topic on intention. I create a meditation, and in that meditation people are practicing the skill, but then also sending intentions to their own lives, and then after that they send intention to the name of someone on the list in their own group. So and what is so great about it is that we're training like athletes to be able to keep our hearts open and use intention to help facilitate manifesting things in our lives. And we've all been such great medicine to each other. But the one reason why I really love to highlight Bob and Evie's story, because we've had many, is the fact that it just shows how elegant this work is under times of incredible hardship and just challenges of life that push us to the brink. And knowing that when we do stay with the discipline of maintaining an open heart and every day showing up and saying, this is what I'm intending to create, how the universe can respond in such amazingly elegant ways. And so Bob and Evie have been an amazing demonstration of this work. So Bob, can we start with you and just, or maybe wherever you want to start.
Well,
it's such an amazing story. We'll try to keep it quick.
I hope you'll think so.
I know.
I think we have to start, for background on the whole situation was that Eve and I were married 27 years, got divorced, based on my addictions really finally catching up with me and life just sort of disintegrating. We split, we got divorced, she went to South Carolina, I stayed here, went to rehab. Set a goal to find recovery and spirituality and pursued that actively, and with pretty good results. I'm still sober, and obviously you see we're back together. But at some point, and Eve said to me a couple times that we had to cut off completely, and I couldn't contact her or anything. So I felt like I was out there with this guy with all of a sudden I had so much to give, and professionally and personally, and was just feeling kind of nobody wanted it. And then I got involved through a series of, anybody at any point in this can call these coincidences, and I won't argue with you, but there was a series of events that led one thing to another, to the Shambhala Center, to Unity Church, to the Peace Project, to Bethany. And when I spoke to Eve, we did get in contact again, and I never asked her to come back to me. We never really talked about that. And I just said, I wish you could meet the people I've met up here. I said, what I've really done and why I'm staying sober is I've surrounded myself with these wonderful spiritual people. And it wasn't by design, something kind of led me there. So anyway, we'll move ahead to Bethany, and who was the head of the Peace Project, and I noticed the way everybody kind of tilted towards her, and I felt the same thing. There's something, this woman's got something going on, and this was at a point when Eve had shut me out, no contact, no phone calls or anything, and I was thinking, this, you might find this embarrassing, Bethany's not prepared for this part, but I wasn't really romantically interested, and I wondered why. And I had to consider a couple months down the road. I'm sorry if this embarrasses you, because you're beautiful in every way you can slice up that word. I said, there's something else going on here, and I noticed how everyone tilted towards you, and there was something there for me. And I kept going to the Peace Project, and it kept getting better. And she did these meditations with Numinous, another thing that she runs. And I went to one of them, and I had this recurrent thing going on with me where once a month, just like the phases of the moon, I would get into this funk, this suicidal, I'm totally worthless thing. And this went on before, even when me and Eve were together some, but terribly so. And I did a meditation with her, and it was very profound. I had to walk away afterward, and I had never had that happen to me again. So she fixed that
Well,
in
that's
me.
news to
So
me too. Wow.
from that
Okay.
day forward, I said, this gal's got something going on. So anyway, we move ahead. She's starting this meditation class, and I was like, oh, she lives far away. I'm not so sure I want to go. And I missed the first one, and then she mentioned something about it, and I was like, well, and so I came. I said, well, everything's been good that I've done in relationship to this thing. And she asked me where Eve was. Well, Eve wasn't interested. And
I was already back. We were already back together by then.
oh yeah, we've been back
I'd come
together a long
back to
time. We've been
South
back together a
Carolina.
year or more. I'm sorry
Right.
if I didn't make that clear.
Right.
We've been
Right.
back together. Right? And one of the great things for me all along was that Eve met these great people I was talking about. I didn't know she was going to find them as great as I did. Well, she found them
Greater.
as great or even greater. So, and then Bethany said, where's Eve? I said, well, she didn't want to come, and you didn't come because...
I didn't know that it was for me, and I thought it was kind of his thing, and I just wasn't kind of sure if
She kind of thought we were all going to be sitting around speaking Sanskrit, and it was all going to be over her head. And I said to her after the second time, I said, I have learned
Just
to trust Bethany's instincts on these. And for some reason, she really...
I was like, where's Eve?
And
Where's
Beth
Eve? Eve needs to
Bethany
be
kept
here.
on asking
And
where I
part
was.
of the reason why I just felt so strongly is because I knew I could feel this, what you were struggling with, and I could feel where you were at. And Bob, you kind of about where you were at as far as, can you say about your profession? Would you be willing to say
Yeah,
that?
oh, well, right. I mentioned about my addiction. I went away for a year. I turned in my nursing license. I was on a probation from any facility that could accept Medicare or Medicaid reimbursement. I was a nurse. Did I mention that? I
No,
was a
that's
nurse.
the thing. You didn't.
Hey,
you were,
okay.
He was a
Oh,
nurse.
I was a nurse.
He was a nurse who lost his license due to
Okay,
this
then.
addiction. So
Now you all get it.
Multiple
Okay,
times.
so
Yeah.
anyway, if you do the math on that pretty quick, you can see that that's pretty much every healthcare institution in the state. If you can't work for anybody that accepts Medicaid or
Right.
Medicare. So I was working at Panera, doing delivery for Panera that's what I was doing when Eve came back. And
yeah, and
Where
so
did it-
you were, so this idea that I knew that they were really struggling with really gritty real life things. I mean, I can only imagine what it must have felt like to have lost your license, to feel, all sorts of, I knew that just, it was life just being life. Sometimes it can be so brutal, right? And some of our choices come back to us in such ways. So, but I know the elegance of spirit. I know the way that our spirits are perennial. They come back, and if you nourish them correctly, they'll come back. So anyway, so that's why I'm
So
so grateful
Eve-
you were involved. And then that's why Eve, I was like, make sure Eve gets here. Okay?
Mhm.
so we trusted, like I
Bethany?
said, let's trust Bethany's instincts.
Right.
And that's when you started.
And then I started, and I don't know, from the day one, I just felt like everything we talked about was not all about me, but Spirit was talking to me.
Yeah.
And these are the things I needed to do, and these were the things this is how I was feeling, and
Why don't you give them background on the challenges that...
Yeah, so as this
We
starts,
had.
then,
Oh,
then you're
okay.
just starting
Your
in
your
her
personal-
challenges.
so I'm just starting, and I had a bad year health-wise. I fell and I broke my leg
Out of a window.
out of a window, second floor. I broke my leg and my ankle.
Left femur, right ankle.
Right, and from that it went to I ended up getting blood clots in my legs, embolisms in my lungs. I ended up having to have 8 hours of back surgery, and then I ended up having
A tumor
A
removed
tumor.
from next to her heart.
my heart. But I'm fine.
And tell them how you feel.
I feel awesome. I feel great. Maybe one day after all that happened, I had a one day of why me and a boo-hoo, and that was it. And it's just how it was. It happened, and I have to say that because of Bob's background, had a lot to do with
He took great care of you.
He took great care of
Amazing
me.
care of you.
He made sure I was fed right.
Yeah.
He made sure I was clean, because I was in a
Absolutely.
nursing home in between for 3 weeks and somewhere in there. And it's just it's just what it was.
So,
you know?
so just to let you know, they were on the list, and we're all sharing intentions, and we're beaming at you guys as well. And you're doing the work. You're doing the disciplines.
Meditated
You're doing the meditations that are applying the intentional tools. You're, no matter what's going on, you're staying in the program.
And and through all this, it was tough. Finances were tough. Eve was out of work, and when Eve started participating here and doing the meditations here, and like I said, getting the Bethany Experience here. And it started very subtly, but we noticed early on there were little things I was recalling from the meditation. I would say, hey, this is kind of what she was talking about. And that went on more and more. And then there were other lesser occurrences that, like I said, people would be really quick to chalk up to coincidence, and I'm not going to argue.
We didn't, right.
But there were very subtle little things. And then there were bigger things. But overall, there was this current of gratitude that we kept hearkening back to. And I don't really know where that was coming from, but and the fact that we were back together, but there were so many good things, and the good vibes we were getting from here, and all the people that are in the Albany Peace Project. And when the next thing came up, we knew she had a compression fracture. We were thankful she didn't need surgery. Then she did need surgery, and there was never any God damn it moment. It was like, okay, this is next.
Right.
This is
wow.
what's
Interesting.
next.
Interesting.
And you know what? We got through the other, and there was never a moment. I have a picture of her on my phone that I showed somebody when our pastor was actually talking about people are so quick to say, why me, Lord? Why? And I showed, it's a picture of Eve in a wheelchair with both legs bandaged and this big smile on her face and a thumbs up. And I said, do you see any why me, Lord in there? There was no why me, Lord in there.
Right.
It was another thing. And then when she had a CAT scan coming up for about the mass in her chest, and I was thinking, Spirit, could you just give us a break this time? Huh?
Right,
We've
you
been
guys,
through
it
enough.
was just like they
And
were
the
just
CAT
getting
scan
one
comes, CAT scan comes back, no, it's grown, it's got to come out. And I was like, okay. And I said, same thing. And we had a moment, a brief moment, maybe 10 seconds, when I said, you know what? We got through that,
Right.
We'll get through this. And so we start telling people our story, and people right away want to go to, oh, you poor
Right,
dear. And
right.
we're like,
No, it's good.
no,
It's all
no,
good.
poor dear. You wouldn't believe it. And there's something about, and Bethany was saying about how Spirit, God, the universe, and it's wide open. That's another great thing about this is whatever entity you want to bring in, or if you want to call it natural,
Whatever.
I don't know. You're free to do that, and I just call it Spirit. I forgot what I was going to say, but it just kind of, it's always working.
Yeah.
And even this even came down last night when, Eve and I are estranged from our children, and this is a very difficult time for us. And last night, for the first time in a long time, we both were just saying, you know what, we're just going to be bummed out for a while. We're not going to do this interview. We're not going to do anything. And then Spirit kind of this morning flipped the switch on that, and it's just that quick. I went from, no, I'm not talking to anyone, God damn it, I'm taking it, to, you know what, that's just what we should do.
We're
Right.
recording this on
And-
Christmas Eve.
And started
Right.
doing that.
So-
But that was the thing when, and then, I was talking about the tumor, and it came up, and I said, okay, we'll handle that too.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
And we'll go into it. We're not going to sit there and dread and
Right.
grow up and say, oh, and we did. And that's why people want to give us the pity thing, like, oh, you poor dears, what you've been through. And we're like, no.
Right.
It's all good.
So,
It's all
and-
good.
You never,
Yeah, and at the end of the athlete class, because we do it for 4 months intensively, now we meet once a month, we did a potluck, and people came and they were sharing their experiences. And Bob, you were so, honest and transparent about saying, Evie and I are having a hard time. We're having a hard time.
it was tough.
And I had to say to you, because I feel like I've been through a lot of this, and
You have.
yeah, because I have, that I just said to them, you're on a PhD level here. Basically what you're going through, because they just kept getting hit and hit and hit and hit. And I just said, Spirit is just so working with you. Like, you are getting a PhD in spirituality. And sure enough, as the year has moved on, also during all of this, you're having financial challenges, like
Oh, huge.
crazy, right?
Yeah.
And then just a punctuation to that, we joke, well, we really feel like Bob manifested a job out of thin
Well,
air.
and talking about that manifesting what you want, and this one might seem trite, and once again, you can file it there if you want, but our car died. We didn't have enough money for a new car, but we needed a new car, so we went there, and the guy says, okay, on a piece of paper, write what you would want. And I said, well, I would like a SUV with four-wheel drive, with 4-cylinder that has the radio in the steering wheel. And looks at me and goes, what color? And I said, blue. Well, guess what we walked out of there with? That exact freaking thing. And I was like, we're looking at each other going, it can't really work this way, can it? And we're like, yeah, why not? So, and I...
Under financial stress. It's not like that. That
and a price
manifested,
we could afford.
And it, right.
Because this guy was a friend of Eve's.
A woman I used to work with.
So I think
husband.
it came through Eve's open-heartedness.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, right, the job situation.
So then,
and I kept making as for my intention, people wanted us about improving our financial situation. And I hit that a few times. And I was going to change it once, and I can't remember what it was, but there was something I got this feeling during meditation that, no, Bob, don't change it. Like, we'll take care of it. And I have found that what you're asking Spirit for, you're looking right ahead, is it there? And a lot of times it comes from over here. Yeah. It'll come from this ear or around the corner.
Right.
And in one of the meditations, Bethany says about how Spirit has a much more elegant way of solving these things than we could ever come up with for ourselves. And that's something that we bring up a lot when we talk about, oh my God, look at this. And it wasn't what we thought we were going to get in the mail, but look what we got in the mail.
Right.
And
we won the Publishers Clearinghouse special.
Yeah. That's an analogy. That didn't actually happen. I stayed with that. I stayed with that about the financial thing, and then I appealed. My probation on the Medicaid thing was done. I appealed. I started sending out job applications. I was getting nothing, no response. Let's face it, I'm damaged goods. And then all of a sudden there was one from Catholic Charities looking for someone. They were starting a hepatitis C navigator system, reaching out to the addiction community. Well, I'm a nurse. I'm an addict in recovery. I even had hepatitis C and got cured from that. And it was like, and it was funny because I'm interviewing for this, and me and the guy interviewing me are both laughing. I was like, I couldn't help. I said to my wife, they made this job with me in mind. And so I got the job.
Not your wife.
I went to, we got together, and I didn't want to say it, but one of the other persons said, you manifested that. And I said,
because the job didn't exist before.
Yeah, right.
Like,
they created this
not
job.
Exist.
Before
right.
They created Spirit created this job for me. And this woman said, you manifested that. I said, I'm so glad you said that. Because I want to say it, but I just don't, couldn't articulate that. But yeah, so this job just manifested in some way. You can call it Spirit, you can call it dumb luck, but you know what I call it. And so it has helped our financial situation dramatically.
Yeah, so you guys you're healthy, you're well,
I was saying the good ship, even Bob, was taking on water, financially. And we had some people bailing us out once in a while. But so we've stopped taking on water. We're not stopping at the Lexus store on the way home. But, and that's what I mean about looking towards just more money, more ability to pay my bills. This is what I got rewarded with from Spirit. It wasn't, I never could have solved this, like Bethany said. I couldn't have come up with this solution myself.
Well,
that Spirit came up with.
Here's the thing: is in this story, there are so many places where they could have just curled up in a ball and said, "We're cooked. We're at this age. We've got these health issues. I had this addiction. I lost my license." Like, at any point, you could have just stopped and said, "We're screwed. That we're done." And yet, this is the glory of who we really are. This is the abundance of our spirits when we start to recognize how to work in collaboration with our larger nature. So and just hanging out with Bob and Evie is just such a blessing because you can feel their gratitude, you can feel their appreciation. I love the story when you were saying about, you know, you were going to the store to buy, what was that, a potato peeler? You're just like so happy about a potato peeler or something. Like you just.
That's what I mean. Some of you folks might think, yeah, right, it's only a potato peeler. It was actually a gravy maker.
That's what I meant, right? Gravy maker.
Right. And we were so excited.
But
First
we asked,
thing we found
she
was
stopped and asked
second
Spirit for
that-
help with
right.
a gravy maker, and
and
all of a
second
sudden,
that we could afford
after,
a gravy maker.
After
Right.
but after 10 stops, all of a sudden you asked Spirit for it, and there was a gravy maker right in front of us. Thank you.
Yeah, because at one time I would think,
used
I
it
don't
last
need to
night.
spend the extra $5 for a gravy maker, you know?
So
this-
yeah. Any final thoughts? Cause
Well, just I think you encapsulated it well. But there were a lot of times where historically we might have said, "Oh, screw it," you know what? Life's out to get us. We surrender.
Right.
And
Right.
pay our bills.
And you could have
we'll
gone back to those addictive
and-
habits, and you could have,
and
just
it's
said,
also,
"Oh, I'm stuck
you know,
with the tumor." Right?
Everything
Right.
with me is, my recovery. It's all like that, and that's the kind of stuff that can take you back. That will take you back.
Right,
If you
exactly,
get
that
angry
is
and
right.
bitter about it, of screw it, Lord, I tried my
Right.
best to stay sober, but
Right.
you don't want me to. So this gratitude thing, and I even I work with the addiction population, and part of me wants to say, I can tell you the secret to sobriety in one word, but I can't help you find it. Because that one word is gratitude. If you can wake up every morning grateful, just grateful for right there, for what that is, you can say clean, but finding it, well.
And
I guess
Bob, you
that's-
were on it.
I
You
guess
were
that's the
you were a bird
challenge.
dog on your addiction. You showed up at Peace Project event like meetings and stuff, and you were there. So I want to give you credit for that because you were on your own sobriety. Evie wasn't around to cheer you on. She had left because of all the challenges. There was
And-
something inside of you that kept showing up.
But I also, that thing was, I'd leave those meetings every night going, wow, that was great. you
But we
know?
had fun.
And we had a
laughed
lot. We have a million laughs. I know we get terribly silly, and that was
Yeah.
very much a part of it because humor, as you know, is very much a part of my life. But there was just this goodwill,
Yeah.
that made you want to keep going back, and that's what I said. I'm onto something here.
Yeah.
And I used you specifically because you're at the head of the whole thing. But the whole spiritual gig, this was real. There was something tangible coming back to me from this that kept me
And
coming
you
back.
felt the same, right? Because
Yeah, I mean, when I lived in South Carolina and we used to talk, he used to talk about, I gotta go, I got a peace project tonight, you know, and he always talked about it. So it's almost like I felt like I knew everybody before I actually physically
And also,
went
you who
there.
were struggling, the only people that were helping you down there were your landlord and your boss.
Right.
And I just said, I wish you had the support
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
up here. I
Right.
wish you had a group like these people,
Right.
even if we never get back together, just so you could have what I found here.
So just in closing, just to say, there is this residual. We've seen that with a lot of the other volunteers as well, that there's this inoculation when we come hang out with like-minded people who are facilitating these skills. We need each other. We really need to support each other, and we do. And because of that, we all are able to carry our burdens much more lightly. So there's that I want to say. And also, and finally, I want to say, when you were talking, it reminded me of this. In the Course in Miracles, it talks about if we truly got the idea that our intentions and our thoughts actually create our lives, the reason why people resist that so much is because that means that they'd have to reevaluate everything in their life. They'd have to really look at their lives. If we knew that we were that powerful, like when Bob was saying, did I really create this job? Really? Wow, did I really create something out of nothing? If we all kind of got it on a deeper level that this is truth, that we are co-creating, we are creators, and to be able to kind of embody, understand how that works, not be intimidated by it, work the program. And you two have just demonstrated that under the most challenging of times. And here you are a year later, and I'm just so blessed to have been able to watch this journey.
And one thing we admitted at a meeting a little while ago, we've been together a long time. We've seen been in a lot of different situations, good times, bad times. But we never saw this coming. When I started alone, and then even when I felt strong about Eve coming and she agreed because of Bethany's instincts, we never saw this coming. This spiritual level, this gratitude,
right.
this kind of way of life. It
is a way of life.
It really came out of the blue, and just that we opened up ourselves to it,
and that's the beauty.
Yeah, when your heart feels, no matter what's going on in our lives, our hearts always feel good and open, and
Yeah, it's that open-heartedness.
yeah, life is good.
Life is good.
So, and I'm so glad that you closed on that open-heartedness, because that's why we call it an intentional coherence athlete program. We work on heart coherence. We're working on maintaining our intention even under challenge. And we invite you to be part of the 2019 Intentional Coherence Athlete Group. We'll be starting that online in February. People from all over the globe can participate and come play with us. And
Yeah, you won't be sorry.
yeah.
It's all good.
It is all God, and we really are practicing this to help us to do this at the city level, because that's really the ultimate dream of all this work, is to demonstrate that this is research we need to do by the people, for the people, that we can come together and think thoughts of peace and kind of override all that political noise and everything, and come together and hold our minds still on peace and invite it and beckon it forth. So thank you all so much for listening, and we hope to see you again.
Namaste. Thank you all.
Thank you.